When my house caught fire, I texted, "We're alive. We have nothing left." Silence. 2 hours later, my father posted vacation photos. Can't beat family time. Nobody showed. Weeks later, still in a shelter with the kids, my phone lit up, 94 missed calls, and a text from Dad. "Send $6,000 or we're finished." Without thinking, It started with the smell of something bitter and wrong around 3:40 in the morning. I was half awake already because Ava, our youngest, had a fever and my wife, Taylor, had been up with her all night. I remember Taylor shouting my name once. Just once. Then the crackling sound filled the hallway like something alive. The fire spread fast. Too fast. One moment I was grabbing my phone, the next I was stumbling barefoot into the street holding Ava wrapped in a wet towel while Taylor ran out with Mason, our 6-year-old, clinging to her neck. I watched the roof collapse like cardboard under flame, and that's when I sent the text. "We're alive. We have nothing left." Sent it to the family group chat. My dad, my mom, Taylor's parents, my 3 cousins, her sister. Everyone. Then I waited for a ping. Nothing. We stood outside while the neighbors gave us blankets and socks and somebody's kids' shoes. Fire trucks howled and hissed behind us. I looked again. No reply. 47 minutes later, I wrote another one. "House gone. Staying in emergency shelter. Kids safe. Call me." Still nothing. I stared at the screen until my battery hit red. Taylor asked if anyone replied, and I shook my head. Her face crumpled a little, but she didn't say anything. She didn't have to. 2 hours later, just after sunrise, my dad posted on Facebook. A photo. Him, my mom, and my 2 cousins' families smiling with sun hats and matching shirts. Caption said, "Can't beat family time. #blessed #Oceanview Resort." No one called. No one texted. No one even liked my post about the fire. And it wasn't like they didn't see it. I watched 3 of them go online within an hour. Read receipts don't lie. That night, Taylor and I sat on 2 narrow cots in the shelter, the kids sleeping between us. We shared a plastic container of soup, and I stared at the ceiling feeling like I'd walked off the edge of something real and was now just floating in disbelief. Then, 3 days later, my mom finally sent a text. "Glad you're all okay. Sorry we were busy. Hope insurance covers it all. Things happen for a reason." Taylor read it over my shoulder and walked away. She didn't say a word for the rest of the night. I didn't blame her. I was too stunned to feel angry yet. That would come later. A week passed. We applied for emergency housing. The kids missed school. Taylor missed work. I missed caring about anything. The Red Cross gave us some essentials. Still not a word from anyone else in the family. Not even Taylor's sister. Then my phone buzzed like a seizure in my pocket. 94 missed calls. All from my dad. The last text just said, "Send $6,000 or we're finished." No explanation. No greeting. Just that. And I didn't even think before I replied. My thumbs moved like they already knew what I needed to say. But not because I was afraid of being disowned. No. It was because something cracked open in me then, and I decided I would burn everything they loved down to the ground, too. I didn't even ask what he needed the money for. I didn't care. He'd already told me everything I needed to know, not with words, but with silence. A week earlier, we'd lost everything. And now he needed a loan? I didn't reply right away. I waited 2 hours. I knew he was watching his phone like a vulture. Then I sent, "We're still in a shelter. You ignored us. You'll get nothing." He replied 5 minutes later. "I told you years ago, you were on your own. This is your last chance, Mike. Don't push it." Taylor sat next to me, brushing knots out of Mason's hair with her fingers. I showed her the message. She didn't flinch. She just said, "Good. Let him rot." We spent the next 2 weeks bouncing between hotel vouchers and community programs. Taylor picked up shifts at a diner. I did some remote IT gigs on borrowed Wi-Fi. The kids were quiet all the time. Too quiet. Ava asked once when we were going back home. I said soon. She nodded, even though we both knew I was lying. Then came the kicker. My cousin Bethany had the nerve to DM Taylor on Instagram. Not to check on us. Not to ask if we needed help. She sent a photo of her new kitchen renovation. Caption: Finally got the backsplash I wanted. White marble all the way to hearts. Taylor stared at her screen like it had just coughed blood. She showed me. I didn't even get angry. I just laughed. Something inside me had already gone numb. Bethany knew. They all knew. And they didn't care. They probably talked about us at that beach resort like we were some sad statistic they'd once known. Then the GoFundMe happened. My old college roommate started it without asking. Said he felt awful when he saw the news. It hit 22 grand in 4 days. And that's when the family suddenly remembered we existed. First it was my Aunt Debbie, who hadn't texted in 6 years. She sent a long paragraph about remembering how close we used to be. And how sometimes people drift apart, but love is always there. Then my dad called. I let it ring. Next day, he texted. I hear you got a big donation. Grandma's not doing well. We might all need to chip in for medical stuff. Be a man. Step up. I don't know why that set me off. Maybe it was the be a man line. Maybe it was picturing my grandma sick and realizing the only people who might care were the ones they ignored. Taylor said, they only remember us when there's money involved. She was right. We found a cheap studio and moved in. 1 room. Mattresses on the floor. A hot plate. The kids shared a plastic dresser. But it was ours. Then, 2 months later, my grandmother died. She passed peacefully, in her sleep, and the funeral was invite-only. We weren't invited. My mom texted the next day. Thought it'd be too hard for you all to come. She left a little something for everyone. You're in the will. Call your father. We never got to say goodbye. Mason cried when he found out. He loved her. She used to sneak him gumdrops behind my dad's back. I called the lawyer instead. Grandma had left behind $300,000, divided into 4 parts. My dad, my Aunt Debbie, my Uncle Greg, and me. We were each supposed to get $75,000. The lawyer sounded awkward when he said it. Like he knew what was coming. My dad had already contacted him, trying to convince him I'd waive my rights. He tried to steal my part. The lawyer didn't fall for it. He said the money would be released in a few weeks, and that I should keep my distance from my father. Taylor just nodded when I told her. She said, they're going to come crawling. Watch. She wasn't wrong. 3 days after the lawyer confirmed the inheritance, my dad showed up outside our building. He'd never been to this place before, probably didn't even know the street existed until he plugged it into his GPS. He didn't text, didn't call, just stood by the entrance with that smug, stiff posture he always used when he thought he had leverage. I didn't let him in. I stood at the window and watched him buzz 5 times. Then my phone lit up. I'm outside. Let's talk like men. It's your duty to the family. I turned it off and walked back to the kids, who were playing with a second-hand puzzle Taylor found at a garage sale. She asked if it was him. I said yeah. She didn't even look up. Just said, don't open the door. He left after 20 minutes. Aunt Debbie was next. She emailed me a list of outstanding family expenses that, she claimed, Grandma would have wanted me to help with. Included were things like her son's student loans, Bethany's therapy bills, and, I swear to God, a reimbursement for a Christmas trip they took to Aspen in 2021. Because it was meant to include everyone. The subject line was, let's heal together, Red Heart. Taylor and I read it out loud twice. Then we deleted it. The money came in a week later. $75,000. Wired to my account. I didn't tell the kids. We kept it quiet. Used some to put a deposit on a 2-bedroom rental in a better part of town. I got Mason a Real bed. Taylor started smiling again. Ava slept through the night for the first time in months. Then came the next storm. My cousin Jacob, the one who once told me I should have just toughed it out, when the house burned down, emailed me his bank info with a single line. Anything helps. Grandma would have wanted us to support each other. That same day, Taylor's sister Melissa called crying. I hadn't heard from her since the fire. Not once. Now she was in tears about a bad investment her boyfriend made. Something with crypto. Said she was gonna lose her apartment. She said, just a few grand, Mike. Please. I'm family. That was when Taylor took the phone from my hand and hung up without a word. We started getting letters. Not legal ones. Just handwritten notes from my mom, my aunt, and even Bethany. They played every angle. Guilt. Family. Faith. Grandma's spirit would be ashamed. Be the bigger person. Money changes people, don't let it change you. It was almost impressive how fast they turned from ignoring us during a crisis to demanding we save them from their bad decisions. But it wasn't just the begging. It was the spite that came next. Bethany posted on Facebook about people who win the grief lottery and forget their roots. My dad told mutual friends I was keeping blood money. Jacob called me a coward with a wallet. Taylor said, they never cared about us. They just cared about control. Still, part of me wondered, should I have done something? Given a little? Smoothed things over? That thought died the moment my dad tried to call Mason directly. Somehow, he got his tablet number and sent him a video message. I watched it with him. It started with, "Hey buddy, it's Grandpa. I know your dad's confused right now, but maybe you can talk to him for us." Mason didn't even finish watching. He turned to me and said, "Can we block him?" So we did. That night, Taylor looked me in the eye and said, "Don't give them a cent." I said, "I won't." But I didn't know yet how far they'd go to try to break that promise. 3 weeks passed. Things felt almost normal again. The new apartment was small but clean. The kids were enrolled in school. Taylor was baking again, nothing fancy, but the smell of cinnamon rolls in a real kitchen after 6 months of canned soup felt like a second chance. Then the envelope came. No return address. Just my name in thick black marker. It wasn't mailed, someone had dropped it at our door. Inside was a single photograph. It was a picture of my grandmother, in her hospital bed. Eyes closed. Breathing tube. Frail, but not gone yet. The back had one sentence. "You should have been there." Taylor found it first. She didn't say anything. She just put it in my hands and stared at me. I didn't know what to say. I'd grieved my grandmother the moment I heard she died. Now they were trying to weaponize her memory. Later that day, Taylor's phone buzzed. She froze. Then she handed it to me. It was a video, sent from a random number. The video started shaky, like it was shot secretly. In it you could see the front of our apartment building. The camera slowly zoomed in toward our window. Then, a male voice, I couldn't place it, whispered, "Enjoy it while it lasts." That's when I knew this wasn't about money anymore. This was about punishment. They didn't just want a cut of the inheritance. They wanted me ashamed, crawling, broken. But they didn't know what I'd already lost. The next morning, Taylor drove Mason to school while I stayed back with Ava, who'd caught a cold. Around 9 a.m., someone knocked. I looked through the peephole. It was Bethany, holding a stroller and a suitcase. I didn't open the door. She said through the door, "My fiancé kicked me out. I have nowhere else to go." I asked, "Why here?" She said, "Because you owe me. We're family." I told her she had 30 seconds to walk away or I was calling the cops. She didn't budge. Instead, she sat down on the floor in front of our door and started crying, loud, performative, almost theatrical. Neighbors opened their doors. One guy started filming. I told her again to leave. She shouted, "This is what Grandma died for. You turning your back on blood?" I didn't call the cops. Taylor did. By the time they escorted her out, she was screaming. Not just at us, but at the officers, at the neighbors, at the sky. It was the first time Ava ever saw a family member in handcuffs. That night, Taylor sat beside me on the couch and said, "They're not done." I nodded. She added, "So we have to be." So we changed our numbers. Locked everything down. Told the school not to release the kids to anyone but us. Got security cameras. Even started using aliases on social media. But even then, they found ways. 2 weeks later, Mason got sick. Hospital visit. Nothing major, flu, they said. But while checking in, the nurse paused and said, "Oh, your insurance is showing a duplicate profile under the same name." Recently added, "Parent, Gregory Lawson?" That was my uncle's name. They were trying to access my kids' medical records. Taylor stood up and said, "We're done running." She wasn't talking about lawyers. She meant something else. And the next day, she started writing. Emails. Long, detailed calm emails. To every person in the extended family's lives. Employers. Churches. Book clubs. Facebook groups. She didn't lie. She just told the full truth. About the fire. The silence. The begging. The threats. The photo. The video. Bethany showing up with a stroller she didn't even own. And Taylor ended every email the same way. This is who they are. And this is what they did. By the end of the week, 3 cousins lost their jobs. My dad was removed from a church committee. My Aunt Debbie's yoga studio dropped 5 regulars. One of them wrote Taylor a thank you note. I didn't feel better. But I felt even. Until the letter from the lawyer arrived. They were contesting the will. The letter was formal, cold, and blunt. A petition has been filed to dispute the division of assets within the estate of M. Lawson, deceased. Filed by Gregory Lawson, Deborah Reeves, and Thomas Lawson Sr. That was my uncle, my aunt, and my father. The 3 of them wanted my share, all of it, claiming emotional instability, estrangement, and undue influence. It was laughable. But not funny. Taylor read the letter twice, then folded it, pressed it flat against the table, and said, "Let them try." We hired a lawyer with part of the inheritance. She was tough. Former probate shark who specialized in greedy families. She took one look at the paperwork and said, "They're bluffing. But they'll drag this out if they think you'll cave." And they did. Emails, filings, calls. Every day, something new. They wanted to bleed us dry with paperwork and pressure. Like they thought if they just buried us under enough legal nonsense, we'd beg them to settle. But they underestimated 2 things. We'd already lived through worse. Taylor was done being polite. She documented everything. Every call, every message, every social post they tried to delete. Even caught my cousin Jacob messaging one of Mason's teachers trying to express concern about our family drama. We reported it. Then came the mistake, their mistake. During a court-required disclosure, the opposing side submitted an old group chat screenshot to prove I was alienated from the family. They accidentally left in a set of texts between my aunt and cousin talking about planting the photo of Grandma at our door. One line from Bethany read, "Let's spook them a little. He deserves it." That was it. Our lawyer's eyes lit up. She smiled, the first time I'd seen her smile, and said, "Game over." They folded the same week. No settlement. No apology. Just silence. But that's not where it ended. Not even close. 2 days after the case was dropped, my father showed up at my work. I was walking out to my car when I saw him leaning against it. He looked thinner. Or maybe just smaller. I almost walked right past him. He said, "Your mother's sick." I didn't answer. He added, "We need help. And I know you have the money." I said, "You lost the right to ask for anything when you tried to erase me." He said, "I'm still your father." I said, "Not anymore." And I walked away. When I got in the car, I saw an envelope under my windshield. No name, no writing. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A bill. A printed invoice from 1998, my first semester of college. $6,042.12. Paid by Thomas Lawson. Nothing else. Not a note. Not a message. Just a number. It was his final shot. Like I owed him for existing. I showed it to Taylor. She took it, walked to the kitchen, and lit it on fire in the sink. "Now you're even," she said. I wanted to believe it was over. But then, a week later, something happened we didn't expect. A second inheritance. My grandmother's sister, a woman none of us knew well, passed away quietly in Vermont. No kids. No spouse. Left behind a few antiques and a small fortune she never told anyone about. She left it all to her niece's grandson. Me. Another $225,000. And just like that, the storm we thought we'd survived came right back, louder, meaner, and this time, permanent. The second inheritance came with no ceremony. Just a call from a probate lawyer up in Montpelier. I thought it was a scam at first. But no, my great-aunt Eleanor, who I barely remembered meeting as a kid, had named me her sole beneficiary. No conditions, no restrictions. Just a letter in her will that said, "To Michael Lawson, someone I believe won't waste it." The number was unreal. $225,000, wired directly. When I told Taylor, she didn't smile or cheer. She just sat down, hands in her lap, and whispered, "They're going to lose their minds." They did. My dad must have found out within 2 days. He called from a new number, one I hadn't blocked yet. Left a voicemail. "You're playing dangerous games, Mike? You think you're above us now?" The next morning, Taylor's sister Melissa showed up outside the school. Not to see Taylor. To wait for Mason. Told him to remind your mom that family shares. That was the end of our patience. We called the police. We sent cease and desist letters. We changed the locks again. And then Taylor made the call. She rented a small office. Set up a foundation, not a flashy one, just a quiet, private family trust. For the kids. For their future. Inaccessible to anyone else. Everything went into it. Every penny of both inheritances. It wasn't about hiding money. It was about sealing the door permanently. And then the final blow came, and I didn't even throw it. One of Taylor's old friends was a podcaster. Small audience. Local stories. She'd heard about what happened and asked if Taylor wanted to talk about it. Not with names. Just the experience. Taylor said yes. The episode went viral. It wasn't about the fire. It was about abandonment, manipulation, and money. People related. People commented. And someone, I'll never know who, connected the dots. Posted screenshots. Named names. Dug up the GoFundMe. The probate filings. The online posts. Even that dumb backsplash photo Bethany had bragged about. It all exploded. My family lost everything they were clinging to, their reputation. My dad, booted from the HOA and blacklisted from his retirement golf league. Debbie? Her yoga studio shut down after a review bomb. Jacob? Fired. Again. Bethany? Ghosted by her new fiancé, who apparently had no idea she'd fake being homeless for sympathy. And then came the group message. Not to me. To Taylor. From my mom. Congratulations. You win. You poisoned our family. Hope the money keeps you warm. Taylor showed it to me. Then blocked the number. That was the last message we ever got. I wish I could say I felt triumphant. Or vindicated. Or proud. But I didn't. I just felt clean. Like stepping out of smoke after months of choking on it. I took the kids camping a month later. Nothing fancy. A borrowed tent, a lake, marshmallows on sticks. Mason laughed so hard he fell in the water. Ava drew a picture of our new house, with a tree and 4 windows. Taylor looked at me across the fire and said, "We did the right thing, right?" I said, "Yeah. Because we didn't take revenge. We just stopped bleeding for people who never brought us bandages. And that, finally, was enough." It's been 10 months since everything ended, or what we thought was the end. No calls. No texts. Not even a Christmas card. The silence became normal. Peaceful, even. We got into routines again. Taylor launched a small online business making custom wood signs. Mason joined a robotics club. Ava lost her first tooth and asked if the tooth fairy would pay extra since her old house burned down. We laughed. We moved on. We healed. Until last Thursday. I came home from work and found an envelope in the mailbox. No return address. Again. But this time, the handwriting was familiar. Shaky, but familiar. It was from Grandma. Not the one who passed, the other one. My mom's mom. A woman I hadn't heard from in years. I didn't even know she was still alive. Inside was a single page. A note. Written in blue ink. "They told me not to reach out. Said you'd changed. But I'd been watching. Quietly. You did what I couldn't. You broke the cycle. I'm proud of you." There was no number, no address. Just a postscript. P.S. There's something hidden in the attic of my old house. I don't trust them to find it. Taylor and I sat on the couch that night, staring at that letter like it might burst into flames. That house had been sold 2 years ago. My Aunt Debbie handled the sale. We thought it was long gone. But now we're not sure. We don't know what's in that attic. Or why it was hidden. But tomorrow, we're driving out there. One last chapter. Maybe.